Hello.
Hi. We're just going to start by sharing this to our Tribe community Facebook page, and then we'll be ready. Okay. Alrighty. All right, honey, let's do this.
Sweet. Okay, so yesterday we talked about designing your life around your values. And we talked about how do you kind of start to grapple with the structures that you need to have you like steering yourself towards like the bigger picture of what you really want, the life that you really want to live, and also how to keep staying in the moment and asking ourselves what we value in the short horizon. So there's kind of both this managing this big picture and then like being in the kind of the now, you know, and the like the next week. And we talked about the importance of habits like weekly planning that kind of help you connect the big picture in this shorter horizon. We also talked about guilt, and we've talked about guilt quite a bit. We talked about perfectionism, you know, and the importance of kind of being okay with not knowing, being in uncertainty, you know, and having a playful attitude around that. So today we're going to get into some more of the challenges that we have, you know, around managing all of this, you know, and living the life that we really want to live. So one thing I want to keep emphasizing is that regulation is key. So, you know, any challenges that you have, in a way, your first port of call is to regulate.
And if you're not able to feel playful, that is, like if playfulness isn't accessible, that doesn't mean that all the time you're going to feel jovial, but there is a reality to what we're saying, which is if you have the capacity to feel a sense of play, then you're regulated. Yeah, that is a really nice indication of whether or not you're really in a spot where it's good to start looking at these sorts of things. If not, and you want some support with down-regulation, then, or up your regulation, and if you watch our regulation videos, you'll get more of a sense of what are the two distinctions of when you would need what. But please do start there, because doing values work when you're dysregulated is a total no-go zone. You're likely to get righteous, you're likely to get defensive, make up meaning that isn't accurate. Yeah.
So the piece that I to me, I can't emphasize enough is grounding. Like, I think grounding, we're all way too like ungrounded, and learning to like really put our attention down makes a massive difference to kind of how much noise that we can handle. So I think, you know, just can't emphasize it enough. So now I want to kind of move on to talking about overwhelm, and it's kind of really, when we plan well, we tend to be in clarity. I'm like, yes, I know that I want to do these things and make these things happen. And then I can kind of let go of having to think so much. I've set up the right structures. Like for Prem, it's alarms. She can kind of let go because she knows that she's set something that will have her doing the thing that she needs to at the time.
As much as Carly doesn't like that.
There's lots of different structures you can use. I think there's better ones, but alarms work for Prem. So find
subjective, right? They work super well for me.
Find what works for you. So the challenge though with plans is that they can really easily get kind of outdated, you know, like life comes along and there's always lots of unexpected stuff. And so knowing how to pivot is like so super important. And what tends to happen is we start to kind of deviate from our plan, and sometimes that's totally valid, and other times it's like we actually have to have boundaries around that. But what happens is it starts to kind of create some anxiety because the dissonance starts to get quite strong, and it also can have us start to feel overwhelmed because now I've got this extra stuff that's happening in my world that I haven't actually properly digested, and it kind of starts being this psychic distraction. You know, so like a key thing that we're speaking about here is how do we kind of have this big picture understanding of what we're doing, but focus more on like the process of how we're moving towards that, because focusing on process will have us being a lot more in the moment. You know, if you watched last night, I had this metaphor of swimming, you know, like I don't look up to see where I'm going all the time. It's going to be a lot more enjoyable if I actually just focus on the process of swimming and I look up every now and again. So So having good habits of planning to connect us to the big picture is important, and this is where I really emphasize like a weekly planning kind of habit. But I also want to be able to kind of pay attention to the signals that have me know where I might need to do some work. And if I learn to see those signals, it can really have me kind of get backtrack a lot more easily. So we talked about kind of guilt as one of those signals. Like if I start feeling guilty that I'm not, hang on, I didn't do what I actually wanted to do.
Yay for the guilt! We love guilt. It's the best.
So that's pretty funny.
It's true. Guilt will set you free, people, if you know how to work with it. I promise you.
So if I notice myself feeling guilty, then that's a good time to go, hang on, where am I out of alignment with my values and what I want to live? So another really important signal is overwhelm. And overwhelm, I think, is a signal that has us know we need to replan things a little bit. So overwhelm is a signal, hang on, I need to make a list. What's the thing that's kind of having me kind of feeling disoriented and lost and out of control? And I need to sit down, I need to kind of, and often it's just like, hang on, I need to get back to that person, I need to pay that bill, whatever it is, and writing up all the things. So like overwhelm to me is a really good signal to actually do some replanning, and then that has me kind of come back into clarity, and then I can kind of get back into flow again.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say around that?
Yeah, overwhelm is a really good indication of, it's time to slow down. Oh, like overwhelm is a really good indicator of, okay, there's like need here to go slower so that I can get clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say there's something that I feel really proud of that I just want to share with the people who are watching. I just want to do a quick self-brag.
Okay. Take it.
It's not actually related to what you were just saying, but it is related to what we've been talking about. So I wrote a post the other day about having dropped the ball, and I feel that, like, I started to feel some guilt. I went to bed late, and look, we've just come back from Sri Lanka, so my time clock's out, and I haven't been well, and so I've been like resting a lot, and but there was some things, like when I'm on holidays, like I get out of a routine, as we do, and I noticed that like I wasn't putting all of my clothes away. I wasn't making my bed in the mornings. I kind of got used to a cleaner coming in and resetting the bed every day, tidying my room for me. Whoops. And then I was going to bed very late because I was jet lagged. But I noticed that what was happening is I was going to bed late and I was skipping cleaning my teeth because I was like, the story that I made up was, if I clean my teeth now, it'll wake me up and then I won't be able to go to sleep. But it meant that I was only cleaning my teeth once a day. Now, that's fine for some people, but for me, it makes me feel good to clean my teeth on either end of the day. And I promised my dentist, who's also my stepmom, that I would floss my teeth. She said I really needed to, and it was more important than cleaning my teeth. Promised her that I would, I promised myself I would, and I wasn't. So I was actually feeling some guilt about it, and genuine guilt. It was like a signal for me of like, hang on a second, I'm not feeling well, and so yes, I'm not doing things that exert myself, and I've slowed down on my work this week. And that's okay because that stuff exerts me, but I can clean my teeth earlier and I can floss earlier if it's true that it would wake me up. And I actually can make the bed when I wake up in the morning, and I can actually put my clothes away. Okay, if I'm going to bed really late, maybe I do just put them on the floor, but I can put them away in the morning. And it doesn't exert me too much with my energy. So I committed, I don't know if you know this, but I committed in a Facebook post that I would just start one thing this week, which was flossing my teeth. And I did do it last night, but there's more to it than bragging about flossing my teeth. What I do know is that, as I've talked about quite a few times, I've harped on throughout this series that when we create a new habit that's in alignment with our values, that it directly correlates to our esteem rising, and so our self-esteem. So I've got an amazing book, 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. If you haven't read it, I think it's one of the best books on self-esteem. I read it a long time ago and it made a massive impact on me. And there's a lot of research on this to say that whether you're living in alignment with your values will impact your self-esteem. Your sense of liking yourself is what self-esteem is. Your self-concept will significantly affect your self-concept, right? So it doesn't have to be that we're doing really big change the world things for our self-esteem to be up or down, or earning heaps of money, right? Like, or have the best health and fitness. It's actually, what are the things that you say you're going to do? Are you in contact with the things that are meaningful to you, and are you doing those things? And it is meaningful to me to live in a tidy, orderly space, because it actually has me feeling my innocence and like spaciousness, and I feel really well when my space is tidy. And when I'm doing things that are good for my health, I feel good about myself, right? So my esteem goes up. So I flossed last night, which I literally was walking to bed and I was like, I did the thing, which was like, oh, it's like really late. And I went, no, fuck that. I actually made a promise and I made it out loud. And that was part of the reason why I made it out loud. I was like, I made it out loud, and I actually felt responsible to you guys who read the post and like thumbs up to me or whatever. I was like, fuck, okay, let's do this. Come on, you can do this. And sometimes when our esteem is dropped, like, we don't want to do it for ourselves. Like, there's a way that when your esteem drops lower, it actually feels good to do things that aren't good for us, right? Like, I know in the times when I've smoked ciggies, that's when my self-esteem is dropping lower. And I don't care so much anymore that I'm doing it because my esteem's lower. I don't have this drive to take care of myself in the same way. I'm getting to the end of this story, Carly. So I was like, no, I promised people that I would do this. I'm going to go and do it, even if it's just to be right. And I was in the bathroom and I was flossing my teeth, and man, did I need to. Floro's so right. I definitely need to floss. And as I was doing it, there's this feeling that arose in me of like, I really like me. I really like me right now. And it was just flossing my teeth. I cleaned my teeth and I was like, ping, I've done 2 teeth cleans today and a floss. But I knew if I committed to the floss that I definitely clean, because like I'm already there, which is like habit stacking. So on the last night's post of habit stacking. So I got myself into that one. But if I clean my teeth, I wouldn't necessarily floss. So I knew how to like trick myself into that. So I was like, bing, bing, I did 2 of the things. And then like I said last in my post, I did also have a sneaky feeling that if I kept it really easy and attainable, that it would have me feeling good about myself. And then I'd likely decide to do something else that was in that list of things in the post. Because I started to feel good about myself, which was going for a walk today. That was why I was like, yes, I'm going to go for a walk with you, because I actually was already starting to feel really good about myself. So I'm like, for reals, it doesn't actually take...
And then you did a dance workout.
And then I did a workout tonight. I was going to add that too, because I feel good about myself for going for the walk. So, but here's the thing. If I had have promised to floss, teeth clean twice a day, walk, and do a cardio workout, I promise you I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have. And I would have felt
It
guilty.
all started with the flossing.
I did. I started with the thing that was simple. Yeah. I habit stacked it. And then I was not setting myself up that I might go for a walk. I was really just being with that I feel good about myself for doing the thing that I said that I would. And naturally, then I want to keep doing the things that I say feel good for me. So it works, guys. Choose a thing that isn't hard for you to do. Habit stack, and if you don't know what that means, check out last night's post. Habit stack it with something else that you already do. And I'd love to hear what happens for you. It's like, it's in the data, our self-esteem will be impacted significantly in a positive direction when we start to take small steps towards things that matter to us. And it doesn't have to be change your life values. Matter is like, what do you value? Simple. Like, what are the habits that are about the things that you value?
Yeah. You know, and I want to draw out some of the distinctions from your story there, right? So so the title of tonight's live, right? We're talking about overwhelm, failure, and inertia. And I think kind of we're talking about overwhelm. So failure and inertia, I think, are present in that
Big
story
inertia.
too, right?
My post was all about inertia.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, it's inevitable that we're going to fail. Like, it's not about being perfect. You know, this is really important. So I think we can really get lost in our perfectionism, and we can start to judge ourselves pretty harshly from our perfectionism as well. So. Of course, like, ideally we keep trying to get better. You know, I think that's a beautiful, noble thing, you know, and we keep looking at how we've failed and keep trying to figure out, well, how do I kind of manage myself better in that spot, you know, and kind of have better boundaries with myself and parent myself better and kind of love myself better as well, you know. So I think it's really important to kind of be okay with failure, you know, but also be honest about it, you know, and when you're not living according to your values, so kind of take that moment to go, okay, I need to look at myself here. So the other, I think, really important concept here is integrity, right? Because, okay, there's self-esteem, but in a way our self-esteem, I think, is a product of us not being in integrity with ourselves. We're not in integrity with our values. You know, so I think kind of the journey of self-actualizing ourselves, like fully living according to our values, is one of actually getting more and more into integrity. And I don't think that ever actually ultimately stops, because as we kind of come into more integrity, we kind of become more refined around what we actually value.
Yes.
You know, so we're kind of constantly trying to get into this more and more refined attunement kind of with our essence, you know, with our soul, about kind of what is it true value look like for me to be expressed in every single moment, you know? So, and it's the process of continually like looking at our failure and going, well, where could I be in more integrity that has us actually start to kind of shine brighter and brighter, you know? I think that's what happens, you know, as we like get more and more into this integrity, we stand taller and we take up more space with our kind of noble, shiny awesomeness, you know, like our auras get brighter, you know. So, you know, so I think like actually using your failure, you know, and embracing it, you know, and kind of continually going through the type of cycle that you just described is like so key.
Failure, I would like to say, for me, is up there with guilt. So like guilt for me is a ching. It's like a, this is an opportunity here for me to win. Like if I feel guilt, for those people who just joined, that probably sounds pretty wacko. So guilt is like awesome for me to know. My biology is saying something is off here. Something's off here. And thank goodness for that, because a life lived out of alignment feels shitty. Self-esteem drops. When your self-esteem drops, shame can arise. When shame's there, make bad decisions, have bad self-concept. It's not good. So like this stuff is not, I was saying at the beginning of the series, like values is not this thing that you think about one day, someday if you sit at Tony Robbins' course. Like values is like, it's really key to how we feel as a human being in our lives and the choices that we make. And failure is like, for me, like guilt is this indicator of where am I out of alignment, or where am I carrying a value that isn't actually mine, that I've introjected and now I feel guilt about. That's so good. That has me then develop and grow and become differentiated if I decide that is actually not a value of mine. That's a value I learned or picked up from somewhere else and I didn't even realize. Amazing. Thank you, guilt. Failure is also in that category for me. Why? I love 12-step for this. I'm not a part of the 12-step fellowship anymore, but I was years ago in the ACA fellowship, and that's sort of inner child work. And what I love about the program of 12-step is their emphasis on admissions and amends. So like failure for me is the gateway to admitting and amends, whether it's with myself, whether it's with my higher power or whatever that is that I lean on that's larger than me, that has me know that it's okay for me to be imperfect, keeps me right-sized, or is it that I need to make amends to another person? That actually has me feel lit up. Like a weight lifted in the same way that guilt does. So failure is this amazing opportunity for actually becoming more lit. It's like, oh, cool. I get to acknowledge or admit where I failed here. I get to acknowledge or admit where I'm imperfect. People who've seen me teach before, I talk a lot about imperfections, and I talk a lot about how coming into reality and connection with my own imperfections has been a massive game changer for me, of like having me love myself in a whole new way, because I don't need to hide them like they're dirty little secrets. And I actually get free. In the admission, I get free. So that's how I perceive failure. Yeah. It's an opportunity for me to get free. And I'm not trying to NLP your asses here, where it's like, flip it on its head. You didn't fail, people. This is another opportunity for you to succeed. That's not what I'm saying. That is not who I am. That's not where I come from. I'm saying it actually points to, I am imperfect. I have been imperfect somewhere. I mean, some failure happens that is so out of our control. Fair. But like a lot of it is not. A lot of it is because of somewhere I can look and I can see there was somewhere where I was imperfect.
Oh, there we go into avoidance again. Actually, I was a bit of a dick then.
Yeah. Or I was really unrealistic here, or whatever it was. Yeah. So I get to own something that if I don't own it, it owns me. Fuck that. Like, you can get free, and that's what this is about, right? Like, let's get totally free so we can get back into our spontaneous naturalness like we see kids, right?
Nice. Yep.
So that's what failure means for me. It's an opportunity for getting free, and admitting and making amends for me is a really important factor. As that, I'm gonna do a whole course on admissions and amends and like getting free. I'm so turned on about it. Definitely. I was thinking about it in bed the other night, so I'm glad that I got to wrap out on it now.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna like move us towards wrapping up. So just like I want to like link back what Prem was just saying to this theme around holding creative tension, because this is also a really important piece. So admitting our failure has us come into reality, right? And that's a really important part of holding this tension, which is our creative power. So we kind of come back into reality, we connect back to our vision, our values. What do we want to create for ourselves, you know? And we kind of need to keep resetting that tension continuously, you know, as we kind of, our plans and our visions are not actually in alignment with reality, and when we're not actually admitting to ourselves what reality actually is, you know? So it kind of renews our creative power, you know, through this kind of process of both of these things that we're talking about, right, in this live of, you know, how do I connect back to my plans, my visions and the structure, and how do I admit to myself kind of where I haven't actually been in reality and just not honest with myself. Yeah. So there's to finish off, there's a couple of little gotchas that I kind of want to kind of share some hacks around. So one is around inertia. So I think you I think gave an example of it already, but sometimes it's just really hard to get started, you know? So that first habit, I think, is a great example of that, of kind of flossing. Yeah. Another hack that I use a lot is Pomodoros. And a Pomodoro, you just set a 25-minute timer and you say, I'm going to do nothing else but this thing in that 25 minutes, right? And it helps us kind of, you know, whatever it is, I don't want to clean the house, I don't want to write this email, you know, I'm like, but I can handle 25 minutes. That's like not that long. Yeah. And I set the timer, and inevitably about 10 minutes in, flow state. I start to go into flow state, and I will go longer than 25 minutes, pretty much guaranteed. But I don't make myself. It just happens because I've entered into flow. And I've even used this trick on my kids cleaning the house. I'm like, okay, kids, we're just going to do 25 minutes. You know, 10 minutes in, they're like, what else can I do, Dad? You know, it's like. I
think the electro pop that you play sort of helps. As well,
yeah,
whatever it's called.
Electro jazz.
Electro jazz.
Love my electro jazz cleaning playlist, right? So I just like to get past inertia. Like, these types of hacks make a massive, massive, massive difference.
There's research on the Pomodoro is that, so I was for quite a bit there, I was running online like working bees, and I'll start that again soon. And we would set a 25-minute timer, and inevitably, every single time, someone in the group would say, "Can we just work for a little bit longer?" I go, "No, we need to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back." And I tell you what it does is it tricks our brain, like, because we get this feeling of like, "Oh, hang on a second, I'm in though now." But you want to actually stop there just for a quick 5 minutes, because it gives you enough time in that 5 minutes. So you have yearning when you stop, which is brilliant. That is like the medicine for inertia, is we've lost yearning to move, right? So it tricks the brain enough, like that first 10 minutes is a bit like, oh, but you just stay. Then it tricks the brain enough that by the 25 minutes you start, now you can't work anymore. So that actually naturally builds yearning. You have a 5-minute dance or stretch or cup of tea break, and then back in again, and the exact same thing happens again. So you keep having this feeling. And I've actually gone sometimes, "Oh yeah, guys, let's work overtime." And it's not a good idea, because then we actually do get tired. So our attention span, it's really nice in that 25 minutes to hit flow state, work for that 15 minutes past the 10, then have to stop, feel the yearning. So when you come back, you're ready to go again, you want it. It's an awesome way of tricking the body and brain out of inertia. Try it.
Nice.
It's a winner.
Yeah. Okay, I think living a life of value will generally have us living in flow a lot more. Because of course, like if I'm expressing my values, a lot of my values are going to be, how do I savor this experience? I want to create experiences for myself, create things in my life, and then I want to savor them. And I don't want to kind of get lost just in the process of creating. I want to live my values through that as well on the journey. And that will generally have me in a lot more kind of presence, curiosity, wonder, connection, because these, I think, intrinsically are the things that we tend to value in life. So a lot of what we're speaking to here is, how do I kind of manage all these things in such a way that I can actually enter into flow state a whole lot more, and I know that I'm creating the things that I want to, while I'm also enjoying the process of creating them. And then this speaks to the last kind of little hack that I want to speak to, because planning itself, I think, can be quite paradoxical. I've spent years and years like coaching people how to do planning, like doing agile coaching kind of work. And there's a really super popular quote in the agile world from Dwight Eisenhower, which is, "Plans are useless, planning is everything." And this, I think, kind of speaks to the paradox of planning, because if I make a plan, it gets out of date really quickly, and then I'm just in the dissonance and the overwhelm of that, and that happens really, really super easily. So I think generally, if we want to utilize planning in a way that keeps us in flow, we need to get used to a lot of regular planning. It's the planning itself that's most valuable. The planning is more valuable than the plan. The plan, of course, I think is important, because we want to, what are the actions I need to take and make these things happen? But it's the planning itself that helps us get to clarity.
Stay in reality.
Stay in reality, get into clarity. So knowing the signals of when is it good for me to plan, and what level do I need to do planning at? Because most of our planning will be short horizon, like the weekly plan and the daily plan of what I need to do. But I need to, some level of regularity enough, get to that higher horizon and go, is it still true for me? Like the bigger picture of what I want in my life, and am I actually on the right course? Am I kind of moving towards that bigger picture? So sometimes the kind of niggling feelings that we have of overwhelm are kind of more existential. They're like, whoa, like, actually, I don't know if I'm living the life that I want to live right now. And so I now need to, it's a whole different level of planning and kind of reflection. So knowing kind of how to do all of these pieces together, I think, is where the artfulness of kind of living a life of true value comes into play.
And actually just sitting down to do the planning, like stack that with a habit that you already have, because I think that for many people, they just don't actually get to the planning itself. So if you can, stack it with a habit that you already have, like Wednesday night dinner time, or whatever it is, like dinner's a habit that you already have. For our relationship, we recognized that actually, like, a good deal of the places where we kept going into dissonance inside of the relationship was resolved by sitting down and planning together what is important to each of us, to feel that we are actually being sustained by the life we're creating together. And that was a really big eye opener for me, because I had some rebellion to planning. I was like, you're not going to control me. How dare you tell me that I have to be in some kind of your schedule. But actually what I came to understand is that it's like, all the disappointment that I kept experiencing was because we hadn't actually had really clear conversations about what the desire is, why is it important, how do we want to make that happen, and when do we want to make that happen, and if that's not something that's important to Carly, what would he need to be able to make that happen so that he feels like it's generative for him, and vice versa. So for couples, that's been really good for us.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in, I think, not tomorrow night, but the night after.
Great.
Awesome. So
Thanks so much
long
for
one.
joining me.
Yeah.
It was a long one, and lots of people joined tonight, which is really exciting. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. And we will planning together. Exactly. I thought you said partying together.
It's important for relationships too.
Yeah, that is important. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. As we do on all of the days, other than the overview days, we'll be putting a practice in the comments. Or if this is on YouTube, where you're watching it, there will be a separate video in the practice playlist, and it will be correlated with this day. So if you want to do the practice that pairs with today's content, check it in the comments in about an hour. All right, guys.
Great.
Good night.
Good
See
night.
you tomorrow night, 6:30. Bye.
Bye.